I'll tell you what, let's keep it moving here and get into your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. I wanted to bring this up because I think mentioned it in the early part, but this is the only part of the update that I wanted to get into is that the Arkansas Edge, which of course is the name, image, likeness collective of the Razorbacks, according to Hawk Sports. They're in the market for a new leader. Kyle May, who I actually met, he has left his position, though, as the executive director last week. And he was just hired back in July after he was there to replace the very first executive director, Chris Bauer, who also know. But he just says, quote, in a text message, I'm leaving to pursue another opportunity, but I'm immensely appreciative of the opportunity to have worked for the University Collective. And, of course, Arkansas Edge being affiliate of Blueprint Sports. Guys, I'm just going to be honest. Like, the Arkansas Edge is a disaster. It's a disaster.
And give me a little time, bro, to get it right here. Like, give me a little time. Give me a couple months to make my mark.
No, I demand instant results, Curtis.
Okay, but you're right, man. It's a complete mess. And what was this guy doing before? I don't know. I'm not taking shots at him at all. I'm not doing that. But I think I read he was doing fundraising, which is important, relevant, but like for the Walton Arts Center or whatever.
Yeah,
it just seems like you gotta be really specific with the type of person you bring in there. I saw on there that they were looking for, preferably, but it's not an absolute requirement, someone who went to the U of A and everything. But you got to be able to make that connection. You can't just bring in anyone as a fundraiser to find success in this. It's just it's a very specific, I think, connection that you have to make.
Yeah, Arkansas Edge had been pretty silent for a while. Like we just don't hear a ton. There was a point where I felt like we were having Arkansas Edge conversations a lot. But the one thing that I keep thinking about during all this is if what we've been saying on this show is true the last few months, which is fan collectives and fan donations are something everyone has to have, and you have to do your best to try and get as much as you can from that. But ultimately, that's not what's going to drive your NIL department. Like, that's not what's going to fund your football team and your basketball team and really make the big difference. And so I really think it's going to be interesting to see how the U of A handles this, because you, of course, are looking for leadership with your collective. But then, of course, you still need to have the Tysons and the Walmarts and the JB Hunts of the world. And so I think for now more than ever, the university has to figure out a way to not fall behind during this window. Not to mention, you also don't have a GM for football, despite the fact that literally everybody else has one. There's just a lot of very important needs that need to be addressed. And they're all kind of piling up at the same time.
Yeah. Because again, I don't want to hate on anybody and anybody's personal, because we all try to do the best job that we can, and I try to give credit where credit is due. But you just can't tell me that this thing that they signed, that the U of A agreed to this. Okay, this is what they agreed to with Blueprint Sports. No one forced them. No, they had their own department that was kind of that was running it a little bit. I still think Terry Prentice was awesome at what he did. He's at Mississippi State now. He ran track at Arkansas, and you let him go to Mississippi State because you wanted to go with this. And it's like, okay, so if you're going to partner with him, how in the world have you allowed it to become this? This makes you forget Blueprint Sports. This makes the U of A look bad, because you got two people that have already taken over the role and then they're gone, and it hasn't been promoted. And it's such a pivotal part of fundraising and for the NIL and everything. And I just don't understand. I'm like, why did y'all do this? Like, why did y'all partner with him if it seems like y'all don't care to promote it? You don't care to be a part of it. And I feel bad because, again, I think that these are nice guys that I've met, but I'm just going to be honest. I feel like that in ways they were set up for failure. Like, I just think that they, I'm not saying that they did everything perfectly because I don't know the ins and outs, but it just seemed like they were walking into a no-win situation. And so it doesn't look good. And when you're talking about a guy that took over as the executive director in July, and here we are 6 months later and he's gone, the second guy. So you've grown on your third guy in a year. That's a bad look. It's a horrible look. And so I don't know what it's going to take. And I think that, some of the things you brought up, Curtis, as far as the type of person that needs to be in that role is justified and true. But man, it just is very frustrating to me where, you got these mixed messages coming from places like the U of A about NIL and how it's changed everything. And we know that, Like, and we've heard, no, when it's been reported, like Hunter Yurchek is someone who was against collectives, yet you signed on with a collective. So if you're against them, you're not going to promote them because you don't like them. It just seems like I don't know what the point of this is. Like, I really don't. I have no idea. It's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that, with everything else going on at the U of A and the athletic department and the problems that they have, one of the big things that you signed up for has been a mess since it started. And I just don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for this. So I don't know what they need to do. I don't know what they're going to do, but geez, prayers to whoever applies for that job.
No kidding. Yeah. And I didn't, for the record, but it's, it's almost like they're just very reactive instead of proactive. And does it feel like there's just zero chance that they can successfully navigate two things at once, which would be the collectives, which are still really important in that part of the fundraising, and then also figuring out the revenue sharing thing? Like, I don't know. There's some athletic departments, I see them, out in the forefront of this, and I'm like, oh yeah, they'll make this work fine. And I'm just looking at the U of A right now going, I don't know, man. And why would you feel any way differently for all the reasons you just said, John, about how they've just been trying to do this? What was it called before Arkansas Edge? The first one?
Oh,
tried to do.
I know what you're talking about.
Or
yeah, I think it's one Arkansas.
Yeah. Like that didn't work. This one hasn't worked. They just keep rolling through different folks. And when you see that, like, it's just that's not even they bring in somebody new with fresh ideas or whatever. Like, it's still, there's kind of a lack of incentive there when it's like, man, these guys are they're going through leadership like crazy. What's going on over here? It's tough, man. It's a tough situation.
Doesn't help that this happens the same week that we're also getting some more word from Carlton that the 50-50 thing is still getting shot down. Like, they're like, they're very resistant to ideas on a lot of different fronts. And so, it is going to be very interesting. And again, I'm not trying to harp. I know the GM thing is something we've talked about a lot. But when you think about some of these specific sports programs at Arkansas, like basketball, we know why they were able to field a really good roster. It had nothing to do, or not court a good roster. It had nothing to do with the collective. It had nothing to do with people in leadership in those spots or any of that. It had nothing to do with, of course, revenue sharing, which is now going to be a thing they're going to have to deal with. But with football, like, when we went into the offseason, all three of us were very skeptical because we were like, hey, for Arkansas to, really improve, they're going to have to really nail this stuff in the portal. They're going to have to have a great idea of how to allocate money on their roster. And we had no idea what they were really working with NIL wise to begin with, which Sam assured everyone that it was great. They had a ton of money. They had plenty. You're doing all this without a GM. And it's like, so now you don't have a GM and you don't have someone even running the collective, which we were told by the athletic director that, like, that's going to be the big thing. If Arkansas is going to take the next step, it's going to have to come from this collective, which is now, doesn't have a captain steering the ship. It's like, maybe Sam Pittman, it really is just like he's dialed in and he's able to overcome all of this. But I feel like it's really a lot to put on a guy who also had hip surgery the day the offseason started. And it's like, I don't know, man. It just feels like a lot of you guys use the term set up to fail. You could say that about Sam Pittman with the football program for sure when you really think about all these factors surrounding him.
Yeah. And it's like the point that I was trying to make months ago, and I know a lot of people have been, is just, if NIL is a big problem, if you're having issues with the funding of NIL, if I was an athletic director, I would be nonstop promoting the Arkansas Edge. Like, if you are struggling getting NIL dollars, then what better way to try to raise that than to get people to get into that? Because you partnered with them. You're the one that decided to do this. And I know you decided to do it because you got that $2 million bump right off the signing bonus. But it's almost like they just wanted that signing bonus and they just said, who cares about the rest of it? And honestly, I feel bad for anybody that has signed up for the Arkansas Edge. Like, if you're a common fan that's given, I forgot how much money it is, monthly, or I think there's different tiers, but I feel bad for you because it's like, you went in with good intentions of, I want to help my Hogs win. I want to help the Hogs get better players. And you've just been left with nothing. You have no incentives. You have no idea what's going on. You got the third director going on. And it's just like, it shows sheer incompetence at the highest order. And the GM angle that you brought up, Andrew, I don't care what anybody says, and you cannot tell me otherwise. every other team in the SEC has a GM. And Arkansas is not the smartest person in the room because they don't. It's not like, oh, no, these guys are stupid. See, they got a GM, but we're the smart ones. No, that's probably because there's a reason why. So this has been frustrating for a while, and it continues to be frustrating, but I just feel like there's no reason for it to be. That's another thing. There's just no reason for this to be going on. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But anyways, they're trying to find somebody else, so we'll see who they fill into that role. But sheesh, it's just not a good look where you've had two guys already bounce out after a year.
I want to see what like it's like the Blueprint Sports Agency or whatever, the group that's behind this, or that they partner with, or whatever. They've got a bunch of other schools on their docket there. Are they going through the same things? Like, is it a them problem, or is it like, does the full weight of this really fall on the U of A? It probably does, or a majority of it. But I was just looking at their website, and it's like they got UNLV, looks like Penn State, NC State, George Washington, it's like Maryland. So they've got a good handful of schools there. I would be interested to talk to some folks around those programs and see, like, hey, how is this going for you? Like, what has worked, what has not? Have you kept the same executive director for more than a couple months at a time? Like, I don't know. It just, when you partner with somebody like that, you kind of feel like the baseline, or like the blueprint, and they're called Blueprint Sports, but like, it should be there for you to just kind of follow and just put the right people in place. But for whatever reason, it's not as simple as that for Arkansas.
What was the name of that? Those guys that Yurachek did that interview with about a year ago? It was like 5 Star Sports.
Yeah,
the little in California. We need those guys to ask him. Be like, yo, man, what's going on with this situation?
Yeah, because it's him and somebody else is the only people they ever talks to. So it would be nice to know a little bit more about it. But I will say, and Curtis, you bring up a good question about it. The fact that Arkansas is the only SEC school listed in Blueprint Sports is alarming to me, because if I don't think I'm mistaken about this, but I'm pretty sure Tennessee did originally have Blueprint Sports, and they don't anymore. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. You're right. I found the list. Yeah. Penn State, UCLA, just the notables here. NC State, Maryland, Arizona, Villanova, and then a bunch of mid-majors. Oh.
Sorry, that tells you all you need to know. That just tells you all you need to know. But anyways, again, I don't want to crap on anybody specifically, but yeah, you can't just convince me otherwise that the Arkansas edge and everything that's been going on with it hasn't been a mitigated disaster from the get-go. And I think they've timed it perfectly with the launch, because you guys remember it was with the day of the Duke game, and they hired Bobby Petrino. It's like,
oh man,
what could be more exciting? And when they beat Duke, I was like, yeah, man, if you're going to launch it, that's the time to do it.
Remember all the hype like leading up to it?
Mm-hmm.
Of just, different people who thought they had information, was like, this is going to change the landscape of NIL and college athletics. Arkansas is on the forefront, man.
Get out of here, man. Get out of here with that trash. So, but I will say this. I can say this now, guys. I'm gonna break some news for you. I always laugh when you and Andrew do this because I think it's a good bit, but I'm gonna say I got some news for you. They actually came to me originally before the Arkansas Edge was announced if I would be interested in taking that position. And that was before I moved back to Fayetteville when I was still working for the Buzz. So they came to me. When I say they, certain people came to me and wanted me to apply for the gig. And so, I'm not saying that I would be somebody that they need to go for, because I don't think that. But I think that they need to have somebody who has a passion and understanding and is set up for success. So I don't know who that's going to be, but like Logan comes in, he says, I wish Carlton would do it from Saracen. He's got Saracen rolling right man for the job. Hey, we love our guy Carlton. We love Saracen and everything. I'm just telling you right now, Carlton is doing just fine with what he's doing right now. So
yeah, he should set aside his extremely lucrative career he's got and come be the GM of Arkansas. I also saw Jerry Jones's name floated where they were like, why didn't he just sell the Cowboys and come be our GM? Like, why didn't he do that?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems like a great idea.
That's my favorite thing. Fans are just, like you always bring up when they lost to UConn in the tournament the other year. They just need to go get that guy like Sanogo. Just go get one of those. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
man.
sure. Like, yeah, we'll work on that. Arkansas says the athletic department has put literally all their resources in Hogs Plus, and the fans couldn't care anything about it, that platform, because they see through it. And
I got the messaging today. Arkansas must not have tapped into the morning show.
Yeah, I guess not.
Clearly, you need to be grateful for Hogs Plus, is what we were told.
Yeah, you get on your knees and thank God every day is what you need to do. But no, like, and we've discussed this too, but again, there's no communication, there's no transparency, and it just seems like the U of A the athletic department continues to do things the opposite of what fans want and the opposite of what other schools are doing. And I don't know why. I have no idea why. So